Welcome back to a whole new year and episode of Hello Ladies, where feminism meets pro wrestling. We are your hostesses with the mostesses. I am Sabrina.
And I'm MJ.
And before I forget, everyone be sure to suplex those like, subscribe, and share buttons. Interact with this however you can. It super helps. Yes. I know. So for those watching, what MJ just did was like a suplex move, but it kind of looked like you were just going to flash the camera.
It's funny because I almost did an elbow drop, and then I was like, then you'd be like, that's not a fucking suplex, MJ.
For a second, I was like, why is she pretending to flash the camera? I was like, oh, suplex. Yes.
Great, I'm gonna be a GIF on the internet now.
So we've started off well. And in our typical fashion, New Year, same us.
Same us.
Yeah.
Oh,
I had told this to MJ when it happened, but so I did go to World's End, which we will be talking about in Long Island. I am in Pennsylvania, so I have to drive through the godforsaken state of New Jersey. Sorry, not sorry. If you're from New Jersey, you know how people from Pennsylvania feel about you. So
whereas me on the West Coast, I'm just nodding along like I have no idea what's going on with this rivalry.
this burning hatred. But as soon as, well, not as soon as, I was driving through New Jersey and they have those electronic signs that will say, like, don't drink and drive, because, you know, it was almost New Year's Eve. This one, though, said, New Year, new you, use your turn signals. And I have never before seen a more apt sign that a state put out for its residents ever. When I got to the Bronx, because I went with my friends Priscilla and Tyler, so I stopped there, and then we went to Long Island. But when I told them, they went, "Yep, yep." I was almost unalived on my way to their place by a New Jersey driver, and that is where the seething hatred comes from, because every person in Pennsylvania or New York State has one of those stories.
Wow. That's kind of how I feel with Subarus because every single Subaru, every accident that I've ever either been involved in or either as like a child in the car has been with a Subaru.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Maybe
Except
there's
for like a large accident that I was in, but every other one, a Subaru driver was the culprit.
Maybe they're like, we have a good safety rating. Screw you guys. I don't
They're
know.
like paid by like Ford or something.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Um, but yes, so World's End.
Yes.
I'm
Zero. Oh, you're gonna start. Yep.
I'm gonna
Sabrina.
start with my gripe. So me and my friends, we got there and got in line about 6:30. Now, I've since found out that there were two lines, but like this line was not just like a random one or like, it wrapped around the building, like halfway around the building and then back onto itself. So there were a lot of people in this line.
Yeah.
And so we get in line 6:30. We're waiting, we're waiting, we're waiting. We see that 7 o'clock has happened. We have not fucking moved. And it's just like, okay, cool, 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 cool. Guess like, we were right, that doors are opening at 7. Guess the event doesn't start till 8. Maybe that's right. Like trying to like figure shit out why
Yeah.
but we're still not moving. It's like 10 minutes or more and we start slowly moving forward. People in line are getting a bit grumpy, as one might imagine, except for the ones who are pre-gaming. Like there were plenty of people just drinking and smoking weed and they weren't so grumpy. So we finally get a little bit closer and this lady comes in, she's like, there's another entrance and there's no one in line, like please go that way. So we take off running. Poor Priscilla in her heels.
Oh.
So we get there, we get through pretty quickly, like, and we're like, okay, whatever, run to the bathroom, grab whatever. And then we go, as when we come out of the bathroom, we hear like what sounds like someone's entrance music. And we're like, hmm, that can't be right, right?
Ugh.
So then we get in there and I nearly lose my shit because it is Wheeler Yuta versus Hook, which is a match I very much so wanted to see that is going on. And I was like, okay, all right. So we're just going to stand here. We'll find our seats when this is done because I want to see this match.
Yes.
And then like the three of us are like grumbling because like we're not the only ones, obviously, that were in that situation. Like the arena was maybe half filled, like because it was sold out. I would like even with the arena is one that like there's not a bad seat in that house, it looks like. It was great. I really enjoyed the arena itself. I would definitely go back there. I would get there at least an hour earlier because I have no trust. No trust. I don't know if that was like an AEW fuck up or an event space fuck up, but pissed. Because going to the event, I had said to MJ, like, I'm really excited to see Willow's entrance. Like, I want to be there. I want to feel that vibe. Um,
Yeah.
I was wearing my Danhausen shirt. Danhausen was in that battle royal. Guess who I didn't fucking see? Danhausen, which also means I didn't see Dalton Castle,
I know.
and I didn't get to see Trent. I did go back and watch Trent throw Danhausen out. I might have cried then if I was in person. Um, but thank
I
God the
did.
Hardys were not involved in that because I would have, I don't even know, melted in spot.
Yeah. It's funny because I did a live yesterday, I think it was, and somebody said like Trent didn't betray Danhausen and was like super like defensive about it, and it was like it's a battle royal, you do what you gotta do, and I was like, I mean, I okay, but I think this is also setting up for something else, but we'll see, you know.
Was Trent in your live?
I know, right? Is Trent paying you?
Yeah. Trent, are you user 15678?
I really feel like it was like a random user too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Trent's just in there like, no, I totally did not betray my friend. Stop causing havoc.
I almost messaged you like super like early at the ass crack of dawn. I guess it's not that early for you, but I saw the cute photo that Chuck Taylor posted of his dog, and I instantly thought of you.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I love that little stupid idiot as he calls him. That's the nice name that or not Trent, Chuck calls his dog. Trent also has adorable dogs, but they're much larger. Like I feel like Freddie is larger than Chuck's dog.
Reddy is 4.5 pounds a man.
I still feel like that is an accurate statement. Um,
He's been bulking up ever since I switched him to a softer food too. He's been like plowing down these bags of food, I swear.
He's like, this is the best thing ever.
I'm gonna be 5 pounds a man before you know it.
Yep. Just carrying around this 5 pounds.
I'll get the door for you, Mom.
Tongue out. But yeah, would you like to talk about those matches since you were actually able to see them?
Sure, I'm gonna try not to feel guilty like I'm rubbing it in. Yeah, it was great. Statlander and
Yeah, it was
Willow.
great.
You know, it's crazy because watching it, I was really frustrated during Willow's entrance because Willow keeps the same energy, whether it's a Ring of Honor show and there's fucking 100 people, 200, 300 people in the crowd, you know, where or if the arena's filled. And it makes me mad that like when you explain the situation you went through, that the arena when she walked in, it looked so empty. You know, it just was horrible. It was just like she just deserves the world and she deserves so much better. So I just had to get that out of the way. That was so frustrating, you know. And it also doesn't help. everything that people talk shit about with AEW about how the arenas always look empty. I was like, y'all, whatever happened, y'all aren't helping your case because it makes, and we knew that show was sold out
Hmm.
because there were people in my live the day of that show who were like, I just tried to buy tickets and it's sold out, and they were so bummed.
I will say, like, so you know how usually uh camera side, like where the camera itself is, there's
Hmm.
usually like a few empty seats or like an empty section. And I think that's usually where they stick the media folks. There were no empty. I think they were like, shit, people really like they sold those seats. Like,
Yeah.
and yeah, it was very obvious that it was sold out if you were there.
Yeah. And you tried to get a media pass, and that's always like a big sign that they're like, if they don't accept any more media, they're like jam packed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
They were jammed. Which is great. Like the crowd for many parts of it were a lot of fun.
Yeah. So that's Stat versus Willow was awesome. It was great. But I feel like I was just frustrated for part of that match because they just deserved to have more of an audience for them.
Hmm.
The battle royal was fun. Danhausen got a little entrance, which was nice. Trent came out with Rocky Romero, which was cool to see Rocky in the battle royal. I know. Yeah, it's always tough because it's like I love battle royals like forever, but it's like you also kind of feel bad because like certain people don't get an entrance, and it would be kind of cool, but obviously it would take so long if everybody had an entrance, you know?
Hmm.
That's kind of where my mind goes on it, but yeah, I love it. I'm a sucker for like a big battle royal match like that. I thought it was really fun, and we already touched on the fact with the whole Danhausen Trent thing at the end, but seeing Danhausen in the final four was so sick.
Final three.
Ah, yeah,
Oh,
you're right. You're
yeah.
right.
He might have been final two had his friend not turned on him. That is probably my least favorite trope in wrestling. Like, why would you eliminate someone who's helping you when the dude in the ring with you is gigantic compared to you? Like,
Yeah,
it just
yeah.
common sense doesn't, yeah. And I understand that it's wrestling. I get it. But come
I had somebody comment too that well of course Trent is a jobber or something like that, and I know I instantly thought of you. I was like, because it was I was like, I hope Sabrina's not still in this live when they said it.
I would just find that person and block them instantly. Oh,
I know. Yeah, Trent's underrated as hell.
I'm sitting here now with my arms crossed, like seething. How dare they? Do they not know that that is not the case?
He's so underrated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Underutilized. Well, they utilize him and Chuck when he's there constantly, but like it's because they're the Dolph Zigglers of AEW. Like if Dolph Ziggler were a tag team, that would be the best friends, except they've yet to have the goddamn titles.
So watching from home, what did you think of Hook and Yuta, that match?
So I didn't get to that one yet. So when I
Oh, my bad.
so when I watched it, it was when I got home New Year's Eve, and I had had
Libations?
some libations, and then I came home and I had the sip of moonshine for TikTok, and then I sat down with antacids and a bunch of water because I'm 36 years old to watch some wrestling. Happy New Year.
That's amazing. I intentionally use the word libations because Cody Rhodes made me fall in love with that word ever since he's like, me and Oos may have been in the bus indulging in some libation.
I love the word libations. Yeah.
Yeah,
There's a lot of bars around here that use it, but it's like the goth bars and stuff, which is my vibe.
totally. That's cool.
Um,
I I just want to see them do something. I don't know. I feel like Wheeler Yuta's always gonna get crapped on, and then Hook gets crapped on too. I actually was for some reason I had predicted that Yuta was actually going to walk out with the FTW belt because I kind of feel like they always make a little bit of a push for Wheeler, you know? I feel like AEW always is really trying to push him.
Hook's from Long Island.
Okay, that makes sense.
So I figured he would win, especially like since it was questionable if Max was going to retain. I
Mhm.
figured the other Long Islanders would go over. Did Chris Statlander win her match?
She
Yeah.
did,
Uh, yeah. She's also a Long Islander. So
for sure. I was also I was torn on that because in my mind I kind of went into it like MJF's going to retain. And so in my head I was like maybe Hook loses then because I just in my head I couldn't I knew there had to be at least one belt change. In my head I could not get it past my head that like Max was going to lose this belt until I saw him make his entrance and then I was like instantly had tears in my eyes because I was like shit, this is it.
what so like so I really thought what was going to happen was like the devil would be revealed, but
Yeah.
Max would still retain. But it would be a heartbreaking once Adam Cole came out, like I was like, well, there's the devil. Um,
Mhm.
and I thought that was going to be the heartbreaking moment. Did not think that Max was going to, oh my God. We'll get to that and like the funeral like state the place turned into walking out of that building, but
Yeah,
I couldn't
I
believe
feel you.
they sent us home like that. But anyway,
And
um,
Sabrina and I touched on this too, I'll say real quick, is that I've actually felt that way leaving a few AEW shows this year, that it felt heavier. You know, when Orange lost the belt at All Out, it was just like a silence over the crowd of like, oh shit. Or even when Yuta pinned Kenny at Double or Nothing, it was still just like people were like, damn, really? Especially shocked that it was Yuta, which I mean, great push for him, but still.
yeah, yeah. See, when Yuta pinned Kenny Omega, since I'm a Wheeler Yuta fan, I was like, okay, like this I can see. Like you're building Wheeler Yuta. All right. I have a lot of opinions about the other two, but I love John Moxley. I really think Orange Cassidy should have lost that belt at that time to someone who would have benefited more from it.
Yes, yeah.
But that's just me. That's just
Yeah.
me. Um,
I do think it was cool they had Double or Nothing they had you to win because and it's one of those things you can't win with wrestling fans because either AEW is getting crapped on because they have older talent, you know, like you've got a Sting being featured, whatever, or you get people or and then you get crapped on because you're like you're not pushing your younger talent, but then you let someone like Wheeler Yuta win, and then all of a sudden you're getting crapped on because it's like Yuta, why Yuta or whatever, you know?
yeah. Um, honestly, and we've talked about this before. I think because AEW has such a large roster, they really struggle with that sometimes of utilizing everyone properly. I'm not
Sure.
even going to talk about the women's division because that is, I feel like, an intentional fuck up at this point. But anyway, um, I think Sting is a great example of using an older talent correctly, like putting him
Yeah.
with Darby in the way that he has been, um, is beautiful. I also don't see. So when people go off about how AEW doesn't push younger talent, MJF just had the longest reign,
Yes.
and he is a young
27.
talent, yeah, and an AEW original at that.
And
Um,
a generational talent.
yes, he is all of the talents. He is all of them. Um, but yeah. Um, that being said, we also haven't seen Britt Baker in a long time, so bleh.
Hmm.
Um,
I still liked my idea better of Brit being the devil.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And then it could have, it doesn't matter. It shall never be.
I
It,
mean, I love Cole as a heel, but anyway, we'll get to that. I know.
yeah.
But still.
Um, but yeah, I wish I got to see more of Wheeler Yuta versus Hook. It was like what I got to see, I really enjoyed.
Mhm.
People were big on Hook, obviously. Um,
Sure, sure.
yeah. So, but
Yeah. I liked that they only had 3 matches on the 0 hour card. I will say that because I know it's some before they've had like multiple and they've been tiny weird matches or little segments, and I did like that it was kept to 3 matches.
Yeah. I will say, so on the ticket said that the event doors opened at 7 and event ended at 11. And when I saw that, I said to my friends, I'm like, that's not correct. Um,
Yeah,
I was like, there's no way we're getting out of here before midnight. And
yeah,
was correct because Priscilla is the one that I went to that Grand Slam with. And that was a Wednesday night show and we didn't get out until 12:30. So
yeah.
there's no way
You
it
know,
passed you.
you know what's really funny about that? I went and saw it in an AMC. I went and saw World's End in an AMC. If anyone listening has never seen a AEW pay-per-view in a movie theater, it's a blast. It's a great time. But even the movie theater said it would be 5 hours. So even the movie theater like didn't fuck that up.
Yeah. The the venue ran out of food.
Oh yeah, that's what you said.
Yeah, by the time they were at the Abaddon versus
Julia Hart.
Hart, they were out of food except for like popcorn, pretzels, like the only thing they had left were French fries and chicken. And they gave my friend chicken for free because they felt so bad they were out of everything else.
Wow.
So I'm sure they were also probably like, let's get rid of this chicken so
I
that
was
we
gonna say they're trying to get rid of that chicken.
so they could like leave. Um but yeah, which again, this says a lot about the how nice the arena itself was. And I'm like, there were all these terrible things that happened that probably were the arena's fault, and I would still go back.
Aw. Well,
So,
now you unfortunately learned the lesson of you can't trust the times on the thing, which is stupid. I still can't believe a movie theater got that right, and the actual venue slash whatever with AEW didn't get that right.
well, not only that, but like if it had been like if the line had been moving before that, that would have been one thing. But they
Sure.
didn't open that door until probably a few minutes after 7, like because that's how long it took us to get moving.
Which is crazy because I feel like that was a big internal communication issue, and it's like somebody fucked that up and just didn't say, "Oh, it should have been 6." I feel
Mhm.
like so. I don't know. This is my project manager in me is like I can see exactly what happened. It was some dumbass thing that happened. I wasn't even there, and I'm irritated about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Because, like, again, the other door, clearly, like, they must have been letting people in there. That's not the one that it seemed like a majority of the people lined up at.
Yeah.
Anyhow, um, um, I, um, the first match, like, on the actual pay-per-view, who the heck was it now? It was a four-way? Was it the four, like, the 4-on-4?
I have the worst memory ever. I'm not going to be able to remember the order of the card. I'm going to be honest with you.
I'm trying to remember. Yeah, because it was Roosh and
Roosh.
yeah, who else was on his team? I'm trying to remember, like, so I recorded a lot of the entrances, in part to help me remember for today
Sure.
instead of like writing things down like a normal human being would do.
Brody King, right?
Yep, Brody King was the first person to come out. Yeah. Um,
Oh man, what a way. Can you I was so happy for him that he got to kick off that fucking show with his entrance too.
oh yeah.
Like if I was him, I'd be so stoked.
It was really cool. It was really cool, like his entrance. Um, yeah, so Jay
Was
White was out there, which was so cool. He probably, I think out of that group got the biggest pop
okay.
when he came out. I think Cesaro was in that match too, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, wait, no, I lied because Mark Briscoe was there. He got a huge pop, obviously. And it was cool because it was
Hmm.
the first time I've ever seen, well, a lot of them, it was the first time I've ever seen them wrestle, but I'd never seen Mark Briscoe wrestle. And like he just has such like a fun, chaotic energy about him.
Yes.
That was
Yes.
really fun, really fun. And of course, Daniel Garcia, who refused to do his hump dance for us at first. He got some boos for that because he put the arms up like he was going to and then didn't. And that's when the
Yeah.
boos happened.
Oh, that's funny. I love him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We also had Danielson in that match.
Oh, yes. Yeah. It was another, so his, when he came out, because I've seen him wrestle so many times. I think the first time I saw him wrestle that I can remember was when he was part of Team Hell No.
Oh my God. That's one of my favorite tag teams ever, Sabrina.
It was so good. Um, so like I've seen him wrestle at various stages from WWE to his AEW career. Um, and I always love seeing him live, but I had a moment again where I was just like, I don't know if I'm gonna see him wrestle live.
Yeah.
Again. And I was just like, this is a little sad.
Girl, I had that same moment when I was at All Out. I was like, oh my God. Like I get fucking sad every time I see him. Or like, and like I have this moment where I'm like trying to be mindful and like present.
Mhm.
Like when he was talking at like one of the scrums or he's doing an interview or something I just watched and I was like, I'm soaking in every word this man is saying because I'm gonna miss him the second he's gone.
Something happened during that, and I don't know what it was, but at some point Brian said something to the referee, like he was standing on the floor. He said something to the referee, and then he walked over and like Brian said it to Cesaro and um Briscoe, maybe whoever else was on the outside with him. And then the ref went over and told whoever was in the ring what was going on. So I don't know what happened, but like I watched that communication go down, and it was definitely because I was paying more attention to what Brian was doing that match.
Yeah.
But I was just like, huh, wonder what this is about. And like I'll never know, obviously. But it was just cool seeing like one of those moments where like, because if I hadn't seen Brian initially say it to the ref, I wouldn't have caught it.
Yeah. 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 I love moments like that. Like there was a spot last night where you could see Drew and Seth talking to each other. And
Mhm.
like I love it. Like, but it's like when it's subtle and they're just like you have two seasoned professionals and they're just trying to like lightly communicate with each other and like they're always so good about it. Like it's very stealthy. And so I always feel like kind of like I'm like in the know, like an insider when I see that happening, even though it's like you have no fucking idea what they're saying to each other, but still it's kind of like a cool moment as a fan.
Drew's just like, I really like your outfit tonight, dude.
Thanks, babe. And then he flips him.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wore it just for you.
Yeah. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if that was some of the talk going on
If I
between
was a wrestler, if I was like a dude wrestler, I would totally say shit like that.
all the time. All the time I would do it. Um, although like good for them because you have to have like some volume control with that. And I don't think I have that capability within me. Um,
Yeah, I'm the same. I'm always like, I'm being quiet. People are like, no.
yeah. I also think because like my voice is at a lower register than a lot of other women, like it stands out. So no matter what, like you're picking this shit up.
You're making this shit up.
Yeah. Um, but when that who was it? Shit, was Big Bill in that match with Ricky Starks? Yeah, that was the one that had them in it, right?
Oh yeah, I forgot. Wait, no. That was
No.
Jericho's match.
Yeah,
That was
no.
Jericho's match.
There was someone really tall or like heavy or someone big. Cesaro took and did the spin with. And
Was
I
it Brody? Because they had a face off. I
Brody.
didn't.
That's who it was. That I was just like, holy shit. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's who it
yeah.
was.
And
Yes.
I didn't realize how they are like the same height. I didn't realize how tall Cesaro is because he was like standing face. And it was so funny because Taz on commentary was like, "Oh, we got two big guys in the ring," and I'm like, I would not call Cesaro a big guy. He's tall, but he's not like a big guy. Like Brody King, it could look like he could crush your skull just by looking at you, you know?
Well, I think Taz is like 5'6", 5'7". So yeah,
Comparatively, all right, that's fair. That's fair. But
Cesaro is
see,
a big man.
but for Taz to call somebody a big guy, Taz was like pretty ripped. Yeah, yeah. Oh, yes. He's stocky, but still, he's like I would call him a big guy. So it's funny like that relativity, but also like Taz is also really great on commentary, of course, as you know. I know you love Taz too. He's just so good about like hyping people up and like he makes things feel big. He just knows how to like speak in a way that just like makes he could literally have like an ant in the ring and just be like, look at this like jack motherfucker, you know, and like make the whole thing feel like a spectacle.
He'd be like, did you know that that ant can lift like 1,000 times its body weight? Hmm.
Yeah. Like, I'd like to see you do that shit from your couch.
Yep. Yep. I love Taz. Honestly, if we are, I would be fine just doing like a We Love Taz like episode of the podcast where we just gush over him and his career for like an hour. Um,
That would be fun. Like, it could even be like top 10 Taz moments or something.
oh my God, I don't know if I could like the shit he says on commentary alone, like how like
So good.
you would have to it would have to be like three different top tens, like top 10 in ring moments, top 10 things he said in WWE, top 10 things he said in AEW.
Yeah, that's true.
Just what a precious little human being. I'm sure he's somewhere right now and all of a sudden his ears are ringing and like he's mad. He's like, I'm not precious.
Oh
I
man.
am a vicious man, which, yes, but also precious. You can be both.
You can be both.
Don't limit yourself.
I love the man has range.
Hmm. He does. He does. Human suplex machine too, right? That was him.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
I just had like a fear. I'm like, did I was like, no, no one ever called Benoit that, thank God. Like that fear just like went through
Oh
me. I was like,
yeah.
um, yeah. I he Taz is a scary, like was a scary man in that ring. And now if you want to take him down, you hand him a pickle. So
You know,
pickle.
did you say this before or did I say this? I feel like I'm having like a flashback to like us talking about how Hook is really cute, but a huge draw is having Taz be your father-in-law.
Yeah, I think we've said that on the podcast before. 100%, like
Yeah.
100%.
It's funny because when Hook gave me that little flirty like smile thing, like our eyes locked when I met him, I was just like, after I left, I was like, I mean, Taz is my father-in-law, you know?
I could make that work. I could make that work.
Yep.
I didn't realize that Taz is Italian. Like,
Really?
I always thought he was Latino. Always. He's like
Mm.
100% Italian. I had no idea.
I feel like for me, I don't know why, like the aesthetic, he just gives me like mafioso energy. And so for me, I think I don't know. I can see
Especially
it though.
now.
I can totally see it. Yeah.
Especially,
He just always looked like that badass, like New York Italian who's just gonna fuck you up.
yeah. I mean, that is an accurate assumption.
But it's funny how I do kind of feel like between like self tanner and like like tanning back in the day too, he did get so dark, that I can absolutely see that too.
Yeah. And I don't know, maybe it was like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know why I assumed that. Um, but one thing I did notice last night, and or not last night, whenever on Saturday at the pay-per-view, between looking at the wrestlers in ring, because I had banging seats. Like,
They were good.
I've never had better seats at a pay-per-view that were
Yeah,
that cheap. And not they weren't cheap, but like that they were that inexpensive for where we were. Like we were shocked at how good the seats were, even though like I bought them, like I saw where they were. But even still, like
yeah.
I just thought it would be farther away. Um, at any rate. So looking between the wrestlers in the ring or when they were walking down the ramp to them on the screen, they are two different colors. Whatever, there's some sort of film or like filter on the AEW cameras that make everyone tanner. Because
Yeah,
I noticed specifically with MJF because I was like, he's really pale, for what you normally see. And then I look
sure.
up at the screen and I went, no, he's not there. Huh. And then I pointed it out to my friend and she was like, holy shit. Nope.
In hindsight, as I'm hearing you say this, because Sabrina and I talked about this. So what's really funny, I'm gonna have a side tangent, but Sabrina called me on the drive home and totally just told me everything and downloaded it. And we were laughing and we were like, we're gonna literally say all this stuff again on the podcast.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But it didn't click the first time you said that to me until right now when you're talking. And I feel like I'm wondering if he just didn't do it because he's not going to be in the ring for a while. Like in hindsight, looking back, I'm like, what's the point of him being like, he probably was like, fuck it, I'm not going to be even on TV. Like, I'm not going to have to do my typical Tanner thing. He's like, I'm just going to like not worry about it for this match, you know?
Well, so then I looked at Samoa Joe, and then I looked
Mm-hmm.
at Adam Cole, baby.
Mm-hmm.
And
Baby.
I was like, lighter skin tones over here than up on that screen.
Sure. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Definitely not saying that you're
Oh yeah.
not right about the filter thing. Because I agree. I've noticed that at live shows too, for sure. But I do wonder because Max normally like even in person looks very bronze. You
Yeah.
know, like even at full gear, he looked like a bronze statue still. You know.
And I will say, like, his chest was definitely darker than
Yeah.
like his back or his legs.
Sure. Sure.
So maybe he ran out of self tanner and he was just like, just gonna get the money maker.
You know what's so funny about that too is AEW gets roasted all the time for self tanner. They're always like they have the worst tanner in the business. I hear that all the time.
Him and Adam Cole really like are two of the biggest like proponents of bad self. Like it looks like so many times, especially if you look at their hands, it looks like they're clearly not wearing gloves when they're putting this shit on, and they're just like pinching the self tanner, and then they're like going like cats cleaning themselves. Like that's what it looks like.
This is not AEW related, but did you see Shotzi with the photo of the ring with her makeup when her face went face down in the makeup
No,
or her face went down in the ring? It was so fucking funny. It's literally like it looks like Shotzi's face is just like in the mat. She was cracking up about it.
I'll have to. Is it on like Instagram?
I can't remember whether it was a post or whether it was in her stories, but that shit was so funny. I'll try to find it and send it to you.
Okay. Yeah. No, I did not see that. I've been seeing
So,
it all for
so
wedding content, but
someone sent it to her and was I can't it was like, look, Shotzi. It was funny.
I really enjoy Shotzi.
I
Um,
do too. She's I want to push for her so bad. She just seems like the coolest fucking person.
yeah, yeah, I agree. And I think she is getting a bit of a push. I mean, she was in that match. There's a kid.
Not Elimination Chamber Survivor Series. There we
Yes,
go.
yeah, she was in that match. I was like,
War games.
War Games. William Regal just pops up,
He's like, how could you forget Sabrina?
right? God. William Regal is another one who I love dearly. He's a man.
I know. I had that on my wrestling playlist for the longest time
Oh,
until
so
I like
good.
totally burned myself out of it, and I was like, I can't. I can't right now.
So good. Yeah, I'm accident. I had to stop working out to Rhea Ripley's entrance music because I was worried that I was going to like burn myself out with it. So,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, I've had to do that with um Cody Rhodes as well. And Bryan Danielson's is one that I in AEW that I love to like bop
Hmm.
to in car rides.
Yeah. It's good.
Yeah. And it's literally a bop that I'll do with it.
It's so funny because I never use YouTube, which is really funny. I'm always on like TikTok or something.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was cracking up thinking about this today, but in last year, one of the things that I played a lot was like Kingdom from downstate, and I had Pandora. I recently switched to Spotify. And so Pandora never had the downstate version of Kingdom. It just had like a weird acoustic version that I don't like very much. No offense to anybody that likes that version. But so I always had to YouTube it. So it was like the only thing I would ever use YouTube for. So while I was driving today, a video I was watching in the background, just listening to while driving, had stopped, and so it auto played Kingdom, and it does it every time. That's always like, it's just like, we know you like this. I guess we don't know what else you like.
My autoplay on YouTube is wild because it's like wrestling stuff, drag queens, and then so when I leave the house, I leave the TV on for the dogs and the cats. So
Sure.
dog and cat TV will pop up, which for those
Yeah.
who don't know, it's either like calming music with like dogs running on the beach, or
Yeah.
like I put up a lot of videos of like birds and squirrels doing shit. Like a live feed of like them eating nuts. I've stayed away from that because I don't know how the kitten, like how Giles will react to it. And I don't need him breaking everything while I'm gone. If he's
Yeah.
like, I'm gonna get this squirrel. My cat Pablo that I had used to do that. So I could never leave
Oh,
that on if I was leaving the house. I always had to be there because he'd be like, I'm gonna get this squirrel and I'm gonna show it who's boss.
that's so funny. One time I was watching one of those videos and I would like because I was like, what the hell even does my dog see when I leave for the day? And it was like the weirdest video. I was like, is this like subliminal messaging for my dogs? What's going on here? But it's funny you say that because my YouTube was all like meditation music because I'll put YouTube on in the background and meditate. And so it just looks so goofy. It's like wrestling, meditation. Would you like to listen to Cody Rhodes' theme song for the 45th time today?
I'll also get ASMR stuff because that's the other thing.
Yeah.
Like, would you like to listen to a 2-hour interview of Kenny Omega from 10 years ago, or an hour of someone pretending to give you a massage and play with your hair?
I
Those are
don't know
two.
what it is. ASMR freaks me out. There is actually it's just like especially like the tapping. I just get like I freak out over it.
Hmm.
And it's yeah, there's a wrestling content creator who always tags me in his videos because I try to always really support everybody, and so there's a lot of creators that will tag me in their stuff and always like it, try to engage with it, probably because they know that I'll engage with it and like watch it and stuff. And I have to like mute his because he does wrestling ASMR, and like I feel like poor Steve, he's the sweetest person ever, but I can't do it. And I like so I can't watch it. So Steve, if you're listening to this, I always play your videos in the background, but I can't watch or hear what you're doing. I'm sorry. I think
Animated
it's a
kryptonite.
brilliant. Oh, it is my kryptonite. I told a few people that before, and then they started trying to do tapping noises, and I'm like, you guys are so mean. I hate it.
Well, I'm glad that I've grown as a person and have not tried to do that to you.
The day is still young. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, I've heard that you're aversion to ASMR before because I think I tried to share something with you once.
Oh my God, I remember that now. Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember that.
And I was like, I'm so sorry. Um, the world's tough enough. I don't need to make it even harder for you.
Just in a constant state of overstimulation. So I appreciate that.
Back to World's End. Um, so when that match ended, again, like I don't know what was shown on TV. I'm assuming this was shown, but like Daniel Garcia finally did his little hump dance, and Mark Briscoe joined him in it, and it was such a joyous moment.
They did show it and I popped me so hard. I was just like, this is the great
It
Mark
popped
Briscoe
everyone
is
so
so
hard.
but see that's the thing that I love about AEW, and I feel like it's softened up some of WWE's really rigid edges in the same way, to be honest. Like we talk about how having more wrestling promotions creates positive competition. And
Hmm.
I thought that, spoiler alert for anybody if you haven't watched Raw last night, but when Jinder Mahal came out as a total swerve and then The Rock came out, I was like, okay, Triple H has a fucking sense of humor and he's not afraid to showcase it because sometimes WWE's really like trepidatious with stuff like that, you know? And it was like, no, they nailed it. And I thought of AEW in that moment because it felt kind of like AEW takes a lot of risks and isn't afraid to like be a little goofier and a little lighthearted. You know, they don't take themselves super seriously on some things they do, of course. But like, and Mark Briscoe's the perfect like encapsulation of that. He's just like he's respected, he's beloved, but he also like doesn't take himself so seriously. And he's just a goofball, and I just want to like hang out with him.
He seems so fun. Um, But yeah, I'm glad I got to witness that live.
I can't even remember. Did Garcia got the pin, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. And so then once again, making a push for younger talent.
Yeah. And then I believe the next match was was that it would have been helpful, I guess, if I had pulled up the card instead of just relying on my memory. Which
Was
I
Tony
did.
next?
Huh?
Tony and Riho? I think Tony and Riho were next, yeah?
Were
Oh
they?
no, they were in the third spot. Because if they were in the second spot, I would have been mad.
Yeah. Um, okay, whose entrance is this? This'll tell me. But yeah, Garcia. Yep, I'm going the wrong way. Oh, it was Miro versus Andrade in the second
I was
spot.
disappointed. I'm curious how it was live because as a viewer from home, as somebody who loves Andrade, I was really disappointed.
I enjoyed the match. I also didn't have that high of expectations for it, but I was really pumped actually to see CJ Perry there because of everything that happened
Mm-hmm.
with her like nearly dying a week ago. Although I
She looked
enjoyed
so good.
that her suit like or her outfit covered like her fucked up hand. Um, ugh, ugh, ugh.
It was sweet because the commentators actually touched on that and they just said that they were glad that she was there with them and like that she was doing good and stuff. But it was nice they mentioned that.
Yeah, I was really happy to see her there. And I think this might have been one of she is such a great manager and presence. She brought so much to the live crowd, especially since the side of the ring that she was on a lot was the side that I was at. So I was able to see
Huh?
her basically the entire time. And she was constantly doing something like not to distract from what was going on in the ring, but she was at like interacting with fans and stuff like that. And so I remember a lot of her from that match.
Yeah,
But I there were a lot of cool spots that they did. I everything, yeah, like because again, like you know how sometimes you're at a live event and it's better to watch the Tron than it is the wrestlers.
sure.
That was not my experience. Like I was in such a place where I could watch the wrestlers. Well, I could watch either more easily, but like why would I not watch the wrestlers instead? Um,
Yeah.
and getting to see the whole picture at least, it seemed like a really solid match. So when you had said that you were a little disappointed, I was like, huh, interesting. Um,
Yeah,
but I wasn't so surprised, like, and Tony Khan touched on it. They don't know if he's resigning. Like this month, he might
I
just
know.
be gone, which I think is a likely thing because apparently, like, I mean, why would he not want to be in the same promotion with Charlotte, his wife,
Right.
under Triple H, and Triple H loves his wrestling.
Yeah.
I could
Oh,
easily see him showing up and going right into the LWO because there's that connection with Zelina Vega. Um,
yeah.
and I think honestly, the LWO could use him right now, like his star power.
I agree. I really agree. It's interesting because I mean, maybe it's because I just saw that All Out, that amazing match with Hobbs and Miro too. So I had that like meaty men slapping meat mentality, and also like everything that Andrade's done on Collision too has been incredible. And so for me, I just think that like I had this mental bar that was so high, and like I literally had this mindset going into that's going to be the sleeper match on the card, and I don't think that it was. I don't think that was the one that kind of like
Yeah.
rocked the house.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. I mean, they got good reactions. The Lana turn was great. Oh,
Yes.
people went insane when Andrade, like when he had Miro in the figure four, and people were just like yelling, Bridge, Bridge like your wife. Everyone was going nuts. Like people were yelling Charlotte. And then when he did Bridge, like at least everyone around me, like we all went like
I love it.
Like, I don't know if that translated or not on screen, but like everyone was so thrilled that he bridged. And then to
That's
have
so cute.
CJ Perry pull his arm out while he was doing his wife's move. Huff, huff. True betrayal.
So good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. It's interesting. I felt like you had mentioned that CJ Perry was really like active. I felt like the storytelling, and not saying that wasn't valid, but the storytelling between her and Miro and Andrade in the match was more powerful than the wrestling itself. So I felt like it kind of overtook a
Mm-hmm.
little bit. So I think that it kind of kept bringing me in and out of it. And I think it's important storytelling, but I think that like my mind had like it's going to be a banger match, but it was more like a placement for storytelling, like a fixture for that rather than like an actual full like banger of like a wrestling match. I think that as we're talking through, I think that's kind of what took me out of it a little bit.
Okay. Yeah. I could see that. Because like
Not that that's a bad thing either. It's just that like I had a different expectation in my mind for it, I
mm,
think.
yeah, I could see that. Um, I think anytime so Lana and CJ Perry and Miro are, and that was the other thing. There were lots of Rusev Day chants. Um,
Really?
there were a ton of Rusev Day chants. But those two are such great storytellers together, as is Andrade. Like again, I think of when he was paired with Zelina, like fantastic storyteller. So, but I think anytime I see Miro and CJ Perry, like I know it's gonna be storyline based or like story heavy. So
Oh,
maybe if it
interesting.
had gone the other way where it was like strictly wrestling, maybe I would be in your shoes and be like, you know, there were some great moments, but not what I thought it would be.
That makes sense. That's fair.
Um, how did you feel about the her turning on Miro? Or not Miro, on Andrade for not even necessarily for Miro, because it's not like Miro seemed like it was like almost to get back in his good graces.
Do you think that it was to get in Miro's good graces, or do you think it was a power move from CJ? Because I
Oh,
feel
power
like,
move.
yeah. Because I feel like it looked badass. It was kind of like I don't want to say like, see, I can control you. I don't think it was like that, but it was kind of like this energy of like,
You need me to win.
yeah, I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, Andrade had him
Yeah,
for sure.
for sure.
hmm
Yeah, I loved it. I thought it was cool psychology. I like when you see that stuff, it's like it's just fun.
Yeah, yeah. Do you think Andrade is going to WWE, or do you think he's going to resign?
You know what? I feel like he's going back to WWE. I just hope they use him right, is all.
Yeah. I have more faith that he will be used right. Again, like one, because of Triple H, and two, like it writes itself. Slide him into the LWO because I feel like they need a little bit of a lift.
Yeah, they
With
do.
Ray being out and um
Some
what's his
fresh life
face?
they need some fresh life in there, I think.
Yes, yes. Um, and I think Andrade is the perfect one to do that. And that'll be great. Oh, yeah.
It would be good.
It would be. I see the potential for him to work with so many different people. Um, but I mean, also, if he stays in AEW, like he'll just continue on his awesome path.
Here's my thought. What else is there for Andrade to do in AEW? Yeah.
Be a mid
Because
carder.
see, and that's where I keep going back to. But then I also look at WWE, who has such a stacked main eventer like lineup. So it's like I feel like he's gonna be a mid carder wherever he goes. But I feel like there's more matches with people he hasn't had in WWE. Because in my mind, to be honest, I didn't think that Andrade was gonna be a part of Collision. I thought he was done. I'd like because it was so like it'd been a few months, like where is he at? I thought he was gonna make a debut in WWE way earlier, but he ended up being like a very important fixture on Collision. And like he's been against all the big guys. He's been against like I feel like yeah, there's always other pairings we could do, but it's like it just felt like the vision wasn't really clear for him as a singles wrestler where he was going next in AEW.
Yeah. I so one of the matches I would like to see in WWE for him would be, especially if if Damian Priest, I think Damian Priest will become world champ at some point. Whether it's from the cash in or like later on, I think at some point he will hold that title, one of them, whichever one.
Sure.
Um, I would love to see Andrade versus Damian Priest.
That would slap so hard. That'd be so good.
Yeah, I think that would be an excellent match. I think I could be wrong, but I think they have some history in NXT. And that's the thing, like a lot of the people Andrade worked with in NXT are established in WWE main roster now. So like there are rivalries that they can call back to that Triple H doesn't
Sure.
mind, like enjoys doing and showing the
Yeah.
history, whereas Vince was very opposed to it. So
Agreed.
um all right. So I think next was the Tony Storm versus Rio.
Riho.
Yeah. Man, oh man, Tony Storm's entrance as timeless Tony Storm. Just everything she is doing right now, I will take seconds. You know, like I'm loving it.
So good. I feel like it's never gonna get old. I feel like I just want more of it every time, you know?
Oh yeah. And like her during the press conference, fantastic. My favorite moment will forever be her calling out Wendy Richter and just being like, I'm gonna fuck you up.
I can't remember when we talked about this. Did you see that Tony broke a little bit, like for like a second? And it was the funniest, like just it seemed like something I would do. Obviously, I'm not a wrestler and I'm definitely not Tony Storm, but I feel like I would, being in like this goofy, unserious character, I would just be like, I would like I do that stupid laugh in serious moments all the time and try to recover. And I related
Mhm.
to it so hard, and I was just like, I love her even more for that. It was so good.
Yeah. And I've realized like so I liked Tony Storm in NXT.
Sure.
I really enjoyed her there, but when she came to AEW, it wasn't clicking with me and I wasn't sure what it was. And I
Yes.
think it once she started to go a little delulu, I was like, I'm intrigued. And now that she is full-blown timeless Tony Storm, I'm just like, give me all of this. Why isn't she just on TV all the time doing this? Just
Do you know what I? Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say just Rampage, just an hour of Tony Storm making one of her films. Yeah, I can't say
Exactly.
it like she does, but
I was gonna say that like I think of like a career of a wrestler when I see a gimmick. No matter what Tony does after this, people are gonna like latch on to timeless Tony Storm. Like I think about like what could a wrestler's life look like after wrestling.
oh yeah.
Tony doing like Tony at cons and stuff, doing the timeless Tony Storm, or like I just feel like that's so memorable. And so for me, I just thought it was cool in that regard too, because it's like she's literally no matter what she does after this, she's cemented her legacy in professional wrestling. Like people are gonna like love her for this, for not a pun intended, but till the end of time.
Mm-hmm. Timeless Tony Storm is timeless. This is her gold dust, honestly.
Yes, a hundred
Like
percent.
she could do this for the next 20 years, and I don't think it would get old.
Agreed. And she always finds ways to keep it fresh and fun. And like I love like the Turner Classic Movies like hybrid thing was like brilliant, so good.
And I like the idea of a tag team thunderstorm and her just being like, I like that idea to Tony Khan, to Tony Khan.
What is this? That's just the way she said it. It was so good.
Mm-hmm. And like I love too, like it's such a great thing for her that like her lipstick being smeared works for this
Yes,
character because
brilliant.
also that just happens naturally like when wrestling.
Yes.
So roll with it. Like, yep.
I feel like that has to be so freeing to not have to like you can focus on just your wrestling. You don't have to because there's just I don't have to tell this to you, but I'm just telling it to the general audience. There's such a scrutiny for how you need to look in the ring. You need to look pretty while performing, kicking ass. You're gonna get scrutinized one way or the other. If you look quote unquote a mess, or if you look whatever, you're gonna get reamed or pulled apart. It's just you
Yeah.
can't win. So I agree with you. I feel like that's got to be so freeing and fun for her just to be like, let's see where this can go. I don't care, you know?
Yeah. And like I love how she's still able to do her move set, but like there's like an extra gloss to it basically now.
Yeah,
Like it's just because watching her in the ring, like you can't take your eyes off of her now. And I'm not saying that before you were falling asleep or anything, but like it's she has just turned it up to like 5,000. This is amazing. I could go on and on about how I love this version of Tony Storm so much. Riho was great. But and by that I mean I some people were really behind Riho. My friend Priscilla was like, I really hope she wins. And I looked at her and I went, really? I was like,
yeah,
I was like, there's a part in your brain that thinks that it's a possibility she's walking out of here. And then she went, wait a minute, how long has Tony Storm had this belt? And I was like, she got it at like the last pay-per-view and she went, oh, she's losing. And I was like, yeah, yeah, Riho's losing.
yeah, for sure. I don't know who's gonna even take this thing off of Tony, to be honest with you. I mean, there's a lot of good free agents coming up too. We got Deonna
Oh,
Purrazzo.
yes.
Of course, we've got Mandy Rose, who
Sorry,
is always,
I started like rolling my eyes, and it's not rolling it at you. It's rolling it at Tony Khan and his inability to use his female wrestling talent correctly. And I just wanted to let you know that.
true. And I should say that me saying that there's a lot of free agents is not to say that there's nobody on the roster that could, of course, take this belt from Tony. I'm just on this train of thought where I'm like, would it be somebody internally or somebody else that Tony wants to bring in? Obviously, Mariah May, I think, is a great candidate for who's going to take this belt. It feels like to me that the way that they're kind of leaning, and I'm excited to see her first match on Dynamite.
hmm Jamie Hayter hopefully will be coming back soon. Um,
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
Britt Baker we haven't seen in a while. Maybe she'll come out. Danhausen will be her manager. It'll be great.
Oh my God, I feel like he would love that.
Mhm. She just like rips teeth out of people's mouth and gives it to him to put in a jar.
You know, Danhausen responds to my stuff sometimes in like this group that I post in. I feel like I need to just like,
Danhausen's on Facebook.
I need to just pitch your idea for like the teeth versus teeth match, or like the managing idea. It's just so good.
Be like, please, please do all of this.
Totally. Oh, it'd be
Extra open,
incredible.
though.
Yes, please.
Any, I mean, if we can wiggle both more Danhausen time and Britt Baker to actually have screen time, nothing better.
Oh, it's money. It's
Oh yeah.
money. That's the thing that drives me nuts about people. Britt Baker is beloved. You have men that hate women's wrestling, and they still think Britt Baker's fucking cool, you know? And it's just one of those things where it's like, lean. I don't want to say lean into the skid because that sounds weird, but like go with what works, you know. And it's so frustrating. I love Britt, and I want to see her incorporated more. And like we talked about like a fly on the wall, like earlier, you were like, I was thinking that you were saying like you want to be a fly on the wall to hear what was going on in the ring. I feel like I want to be a fly on the wall to be like, what the hell happened with everything that's going on with the women's division? Like why is Britt not a piece, a big piece of what's going on? I don't get it.
See, I couldn't be a fly in the wall there because at some point I would throw my little fly body down someone's throat, ending it all for myself and them. Like,
This is why you are the Wednesday Adams of Wrestle Talk.
Wednesday Adams slash, Daria.
Daria.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's me. I should really change my like little intro thing to say that. Get rid of the like nerdy by nature and just be like, I'm the Wednesday Adams slash Daria of Wrestle Talk.
You should have like a music theme to the podcast where it's just like a mashup between like Adam's Family and Daria's intro.
I love getting sued. Yes.
Da, 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 da. But we'll do like a half note so it's not super obvious. If you do the full thing, it'd be like da da da, and it's like the la la la.
Um,
I don't know.
I have been thinking about changing the intro to the podcast, but that's another
Conversation.
yeah. That will happen off cast. Off cast, whatever. Um how did the match play in on TV? I almost said in person, that's where I was.
I thought it was solid. I think it's always. I'm also not like a big Riho fan either.
Yeah.
Um, and it's not to not no hate on Riho. I just feel like certain things to me don't feel like very. I know it's wrestling, so people are gonna be like, well, duh, but it doesn't feel super believable. Sometimes it just. I think that's kind of I get lost in like the believability of that sometimes with the some of the work that she does in the ring.
Yeah.
And so I think I wasn't super hyped for this match in general, just because like there was of course no build as we talked about before. Obviously, I get that Riho was the first AEW Women's Champion, but I just feel like outside of that, it's like what are we doing here? I just feel like there could have been more going on leading up to it.
I forget sometimes that she was the first AEW women's champion. I always think like what an interesting choice now, but you know, it is what it is.
Yeah,
No
right.
no shade against her. I'm also not a huge Rio fan. Um like she's not bad. She just does not hook my interest.
Same with me. Yeah, same with me. I also feel like it's like when you have a roster with just like stacked names, like for me, I feel like I would rather see somebody else in that other spot, you know?
Yeah, I was very excited to see Tony Storm
Yeah.
in
And I
that.
feel bad saying that because I'm always trying to be very positive with women's wrestling, but you have your favorites and you have your ones that you have your talent that you don't like as much. So
Exactly. Yeah. And the next match on the card was Swerve. It was supposed to be versus Keith Lee. Since I had been traveling, I was very shocked when Dustin Rhodes music hit, and I went, huh, huh, all right. Um,
okay, that would have been so funny. I love that. It's funny because I posted a TikTok from me in the theater and I was like just like a little like story on TikTok and I was like, I've got this whole damn place to myself. It was so cool. And in the comments, I was sitting there and the everybody was like, oh, MJ, did you hear? Like they were giving me updates about what was going on, you know, before the screen even turned on. It was so funny. And they were just like, MJ, Keith Lee's injured. Did you hear Keith Lee's injured? And then I was like, no way. And I literally thought that Nick was going to be there, you know, formerly known as Dolph Ziggler. I literally thought we were going to see Nick like swap in. I was like, I don't know whether this is like a swerve with the swerve match or
mhm.
what, but I was super excited. And then I saw Dustin on there, and I was just like so a little bit confused. Granted, he'd worked with like Keith Lee before, but
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. It was an odd one. Like again, I'm just gonna call him Gold Dust. Anytime I see him, I am stoked to see him. Like
sure,
he can still go. I'm always taken aback by like what a tall man he is because he is a giant
sure,
of like a human being. And like he still has this presence about him. Like you very much so want to look at him.
yeah,
It could be because half of his face is painted crazy, but who knows? Um, um, and when they did the thing with the cinder block, I thought he was going to limp back and then somebody else was going to come out. And when that didn't happen, I was like, okay, all right. I don't, people, I think some people have been crazy with like shitting on him because it wasn't a bad match. It just was not the match I was promised. I also wasn't necessarily looking forward to Swerve versus Keith Lee. I was excited to see both of them, but not
sure.
necessarily see them wrestle. So that's where I landed again. But it was a strange one to slot in, although he is the safest person to slot in. Like he's not gonna hurt Swerve like physically.
Sure. I think for me too, I was so like I understand first of all, huge Swerve fan saying this. But for me, like I understand wanting to make a push for somebody, but it felt like such a squash match, and like having like, the cinder block thing in the beginning felt like weird. It just the timing and the pacing of it was off.
Hmm.
At one point, I really appreciated. I told Sabrina this. I appreciated like a little bit of the storytelling throughout it, but also like I just felt like it was so just like there was a couple moments through the pay-per-view that had like what the fuck was that moments, and this was one of them for me where I was just like why? Like because Dustin can still go hard in a match. And like I personally will argue to death that like in the beginning of the Gold Dust days, he wasn't as swift and fluid as he is even now.
Yeah.
And when he made his return and he like tagged a lot with Cody back in the day, that was the best he was in the ring. He was like amazing. I've never seen anybody move like that, let alone at the age he was at that time. And for me, like he could still fucking go now. So it's like, why would we have it almost feel like a weird squash match with this? If the cinder block thing happened in the end, yes, but in the beginning, it felt like they like ended up being like way too short for time and had to like wrap it in a weird way. But then it still drew out anyway with like the weird like, okay, I'm gonna hobble back to the ring, I'm gonna do this, and then the other. It was just so it was weird to me.
Yeah. It the cinder block thing was really weird, and then Swerve isn't the kind of heel, like he's not a weak heel, he doesn't need to use those sorts of
Sure.
tactics. So there, which is why again, like I felt like someone else was supposed to come out or something, but no.
Yeah.
Goldust was like, I'm going to soldier this out. Brr. Um, I agree though with you about how like he's far more fluid now. And part of me wonders if it's because they have the Nightmare Factory and he's definitely one of the trainers there. So I wonder if it's
Mhm.
literally because he's getting in there and like moving around a bunch, like
And
training
the sobri
others.
sure, and the sobriety and like eating a lot healthier and like
You're like,
yeah.
he's sober now, Sabrina. He's not on drugs. I'm like, oh yeah.
No, I wasn't thinking like that. But I the cinder block made sense to me because it's a callback to the feud with Keith Lee and like the whole like using the cinder block on him and stuff. Like I get that, but save it to the end of the match. They could have still gone like even a couple minutes, and then Keith or not Keith, then Swerve does that, and then it kind of is like game over. Like because I felt the same way as you. I was like, shit, maybe Nick is gonna come out and like rescue Dustin. It just felt like what happened here. It just
Mhm.
felt really disconnected.
Yeah, yeah. I will say, I loved Prince Nana throughout the whole damn thing.
I also love Swerve's gear and like his gray coat was lovely. I mean,
Mhm.
I mean, Swerve, the way he handled the whole thing throughout was great heel work. I didn't like how the match was formatted structure wise with the order of things, but I still felt like he was really like on his shit. Like he was just like, I'm still like the biggest baddest heel. In the media scrum after, he really like carried that into where he was just like, no, like nobody can touch me. And then I like that he was also kind of talking a little bit of shit at Keith Lee with like saying like I'm ready for the title picture, like almost kind of a thing like you might get a chance later, you might not. And I like that they kind of left it open for like we don't know whether they're gonna actually face off again with Keith Lee or if he's it was really brilliant of Swerve in my opinion how he kind of structured that because he can kind of go any way now.
Mhm. Yeah. I think Swerve is a genius with that kind of stuff. Um,
Mhm.
two things. One, so I have this video and I realized when I was playing it back, it was after Swerve won and he's up on the turnbuckle doing that like gargoyle crouch that he does
I
now.
love it. I love
I
it.
think it's so good. It's such like a good heel thing. Um, but yeah, it just reminds me of like a badass gargoyle. Um,
I fucking love that comparison. That's awesome. Yeah.
yeah, he's a badass gargoyle. That's what he's doing. But you can see in the background um with Nana dancing and whatnot in the crowd, some of the techs are like going by, and I think they have like I they have something, but like you can see the one guy is doing the dance too, like one of the AEW techs. And I was just like, this is fantastic. Like, it's good then. Like, if like the crew is like, I can't help myself.
That is amazing.
I think Swerve is obviously fantastic in that ring
Sure.
on the mic, yada yada. Um, he would not be at the place where he's at if it weren't for Prince Nana and that dance.
Sure.
because that has connected with the crowd in such a way that there is now such a hype for when Swerve's music hits that it's infectious.
So now it's like everything with his character work is it's all full circle. Like it all amplifies it. And like somebody commented in a live of mine the other day and they said, MJ, Swerve just his theme song? And I was like, no. Like for me it's an amplification of everything that he already is, and like it's always consistently getting even better somehow and like surpassing expectations. But I thought that was an interesting comment. Like, is he just his theme song? And it's funny that like I don't want to say that like hate like it's a hater thing, but it almost is like when everything is so good, there's always little things people want to try to pick apart about you, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The theme song I found out from my friend Priscilla, her she knows that the rapper, I can't remember his name, his mother used to do her hair. So
Mm-hmm.
she was like, "Oh, I have to take a video of this and send it to his mom because his mom won't come back, tries not to come back to New York, and that's a whole other thing that's not my business to share." But he like I was just like, how interesting, like that 7 degrees of separation thing. I was like, so it's like 3 steps between me and Swerve Strickland. That's what I took away from that.
That's pretty cool. I don't know if the camera panned to him when you were there, but he was in the front row too for that Swerve match. That
Yeah,
was pretty cool.
yeah.
I thought that was rad.
Um, I feel like this is something we have to touch on because we're a feminist podcast and it would be a disservice not to. I have a feeling you know exactly where I'm going.
Okay.
Um, So there's a bit of controversy right now with Swerve.
Yeah.
It seemed like it was a night of people with controversy attached to them, some far worse than others. But Swerve, and I've heard 2 different things now, and I'm not, maybe you know which one is the truth.
I know what you're saying, and I'm like in the same boat where I've heard conflicting things.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
heard. So there is a lyric, a video of Swerve saying it, went up in a story or something of his, like there was a clip that he had posted, and the line was, "She's black and ugly," or "She was black and ugly." What I've heard is the first thing that I heard was that it was a like early 90s rap lyric that he was singing along with. The second thing that I've heard is that it's his lyric. Um,
Yeah.
and the thing was, like, I was talking with my friend Priscilla, who is a black woman, and she said, like, honestly, it could have been any 90s rap song because like they just hated on black women constantly.
Maliciously, yeah.
Yeah. And she's like, I'm not surprised. And I couldn't even tell you what song, like lyric that's from. Now, if it's his lyric, that's obviously a lot more problematic.
Yeah.
Neither one's good. Neither one's good. One's bad, and then the other one's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Um,
Yeah. It's something I need to do more research on too, because I saw that and I know that I briefly sent that to you and then I got pulled in like 10 other things. So we didn't have a conversation about it
yeah.
like I should have
So
prioritized that. But for me, I feel like it's one of those things that like I don't know, because whether I'm just such a Swerve lover too that I'm really trying to be like unbiased. And so in my head, I'm literally just like, one, I need to do more research on this, and two, I'm in my head, my first instinct is this something that we're just clipping part of a different conversation, like a bigger picture here into like a almost like a troll type of a video where it's like what was said before this, what's the content, you know what I mean? That's kind of where my mind goes, because the internet is just so like always looking for controversy and always looking for hate. But we're also in the time where, and I also feel like I know we're going to mention this coming up soon with Jericho, we're also in a time period where people consistently talk about how the 80s were so problematic for wrestlers and they or the attitude era, and they make everything sound so past tense, but we still have present day wrestlers who are getting screen time, who are getting storylines, who are taking away opportunities and making money in an industry where they have done horrible things to people. And so whether it's within the wrestling industry or outside of it, and so we can't give people a platform. So it's something that need to look into more because I'm already heated about the Jericho thing. And as
Hmm.
someone who loved Jericho before, especially like Y2J was my shit. And you can't to get to a certain point where it's like, if you continue defending somebody, what are you really doing right now?
Yeah, 100%. And
And
it's
I'm not sure if that all made as much sense. I don't want to sound like I'm defending Swerve when I don't know the full details, but I'm just thinking about that in terms of modern wrestling, how it's still very problematic when people tend to think about it in the past as being problematic when it's not necessarily the case.
yeah. Um, I'm very like so I also need to do more like digging into this.
Mhm.
This probably will not be the last time that we talk about it, but I didn't
Sure.
want to blatantly like say all these wonderful things about Swerve in the ring, and while this is like going on,
Yes.
like something very much so aware of and need to find more. Because also I also don't want to do like the white savior thing, right? Like
Yes.
upset about something when the members of that group aren't who were harmed or are the subject of the oppression or perceived oppression um
Yeah.
are not. However, I know about this because Black women were posting about it. So like that tells me that something is going on here, especially since one specifically Ray was heartbroken about it because she's a big Swerve fan. So my immediate thing is like, then there's something here. Like
Right.
there's something here. Now whether it's his lyric, again, that's in my opinion, that's much worse. Like if you wrote that yourself, very different than like you singing along.
Right.
You should be conscious of that, sure. But like how many it happens all the time in a much less serious way. Things from like when we were kids, you'll be like singing along to them as an adult, and then you're like,
What the hell? Yeah.
how is this Inspector Gadget song sexual? Uh did
Wait,
I
is there
just
really
think,
something in the Inspector Gadget song that's
oh yeah, there's a line that's like, I can freak you with my gadget. Like the whole thing is horribly sexual. Um
what the fuck?
it's yeah, it's a boning song. It's very clear that that's what that song's about, like as an adult. Yeah.
I thought you were just I thought you were just like saying Inspector Gadget is like a random like one-off exam. Like I wouldn't think it was like a real thing.
Yeah, no, not from the cartoon, but from the live action they did with, I think they're called Youngstown, did the song.
Okay.
Um, yeah, not the children's cartoon. As far as I know, that song is fine.
Oh my God, okay.
Two different songs, sorry.
No, you're good. I mean, it's still bad, but it's like I'm just like, what the fuck? Has it been that long since I watched that cartoon?
There's a whole other meaning to like that arm that comes out of his head.
What the fuck are you gonna name this episode?
I can freak you with my gadget, obviously. World's End. I can freak you with my gadget.
Girl.
Oh,
Okay, in all seriousness though, because I know we just diverted from a very serious
serious
topic,
topic, yeah.
I do really want to say that I appreciate you bringing that up and not just glossing over it. And like my mind, that wasn't at the forefront of my mind, and it should have been when we were having this conversation. So I really appreciate you bringing it up in the moment.
Yeah, sorry I like threw us under the bus collectively with that of like we should talk about this.
No, not at all. It's important, and I'm glad you mentioned it.
Um yeah, any other thoughts other than we both need to do some more homework on that?
And that the cinder block should have been at the beginning
Yeah.
of this match or the end of this match. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm good.
And people need to stop shitting on Gold Dust for that match.
I thought you were gonna say black women, and I was like, yes.
That
Also
too.
that.
Yes.
Also that. Yeah.
Yes. The, more so that, yeah. Gold
Also
can take
that.
care of himself. Um,
That's gonna take care of himself.
he can go cry into his money. Um,
True.
But
Do you think that like he actually was injured in that match? Sorry, I know I said we're not going to talk about the match anymore because the whole thing just felt strange. I don't think, I mean, I think the cinder block spot still should have been at the end, but the way that the whole thing was structured was so weird that I can't help but wonder.
maybe,
Okay,
maybe.
that was the last
I don't
thing.
know.